I'm Kelly Hogan. Welcome back to my Zero Carb Life. For the past 15 years, I have only eaten animal products. That means that I only eat meat, eggs, and dairy. When I tell people that, the next question is usually, what about fruit? Followed by, what about vegetables? What about fiber? What about bread, potatoes, honey, mushrooms? Stop. Stop. Seriously. I don't eat any of that. And I'm not telling you what to eat, but I'm telling you that I only eat meat, eggs, and dairy. Full stop. That's it. I have not tasted one vegetable or fruit in more than 15 years. Same for bread, potatoes, honey, and mushrooms. And for the record, I'm not dead yet. In fact, I feel very much alive and well. Cutting out everything other than meat, eggs, and dairy got rid of my IBS, chronic inflammation, frequent boils, nonstop acne, nighttime anxiety, painful menstrual cramps, costochondritis, which is inflammation of the cartilage around the sternum, fertility issues, and allowed me to let go of 130 pounds. And I no longer have issues with gas and bloating. If you love salad and kale, this may all be very shocking and disappointing to hear. You might be outraged. But some of us, in fact, many thousands of us, actually feel better without any fiber, no grains, no fruit, no vegetables, none of that. So we eat a plant-free diet. Mostly plant-free diet. I can handle some seasonings on my meat just fine, and I don't have any issues with drinking the hot water that touched coffee beans. Otherwise, I live a very happy, painless, and plant-free existence. Also, if you love salad and kale, you may think that you have stumbled onto the wrong side of YouTube right now. But maybe stick around if you are not feeling well, especially because there is a very real possibility that you could feel a lot better if you only ate these 10 foods that I'm about to talk about. I will even show you the easiest ways to cook them and exactly how to track them. I should also mention that not everyone on the carnivore diet tracks their food. Many carnivores simply eat their meat, feel like champions, and leave apps completely out of the entire fabulous process. However, if you have poor leptin sensitivity, you likely have no idea when you have eaten enough food because you have no satiety signals at all. And if you are depleted of the hormone ghrelin, you likely have no hunger signals. So you could be eating 800 calories of meat per day and telling everyone, but I'm just not hungry. Meanwhile, you're losing hair, you're losing sleep, and you're definitely not losing weight. So yes, I do advocate for tracking food, meat, when a person is not getting positive results. I should also mention that it is very possible to get great results on the carnivore diet while eating 100 different meats and fun, meaty concoctions. My friend Courtney Luna has a gorgeous cookbook full of completely carnivore recipes. I will link to it below. If you love cooking, you love variety in your diet, you want carnivore pizza recipes, or you just love reading about carnivore and looking at stunning meat photos, I get it. Seriously, get yourself a copy. It's linked below. But today, I want to share the 10 most simple and nutritious foods that I have eaten on repeat for all of these years, including while I was losing 130 pounds. I am not much of a cook, but I'm here to tell you I can cook these 10 foods in my sleep. I can track them in a quick minute, and I enjoy eating these foods. So let's take a look. So again, it's not that you have to eat these 10 exact foods, but honestly, they are easy to cook, delightful to eat, and very simple to track for those that want to. So I'm going to start with burger patties. You could use any 100% beef, quarter-pound beef patties that you want to use. In fact, for many years, I just picked mine up from McDonald's or Wendy's. I had no reactions because they don't put seed oils or fillers in them, and it worked beautifully for me. I know that some people have to be really careful about if their beef was fed any grain, and I do not have those reactions. I do great with grain-finished beef. All cows eat grass. That is a saying in music, by the way, for the bass notes. All cows eat grass. No one cares. Okay. Burger patties. Let's focus. They're affordable, easy, nutritious, and that's basically what I ate for 10 years. For most of the time that I was losing lots of weight, I was eating a lot of burger patties. So I like to buy these frozen beef patties. They are from Walmart. They are 100% burger patties. I get the 80/20. If you look at the nutritional facts on the bag, those are for raw, not cooked beef patties. I do mine in the air fryer. I use a favorite McCormick seasoning and some smoked paprika. Sometimes I use Spanish smoked paprika. Yes. But season them how you like. I know not everybody can handle as many seasonings and spices as I can. I like mine fairly medium rare, so I only cook mine for about 8 minutes on 400 degrees. I do normally flip them at the halfway point, and I do not pour any of the leftover fat back over mine. I just eat the patties. I do sometimes add Tabasco or mustard. You could include Cloudy's bread if you have a Publix near you. Some people include avocado Primal Kitchen mayonnaise. I've done it. You may even be able to add some real cheese. I do not recommend fast food cheese. That is not real cheese. Or you could add some bacon, make an entire beautiful burger with the Cloudy's bun, which is just made of cream cheese and eggs. That's it. Now, if you have Carb Manager, that is the tracking app that I use. I have done this for my group members, but this is the first time I think I've shared this on YouTube. You can absolutely search Carb Manager for Kelly Hogan and find tons of my entries. So if you search Kelly Hogan 1/4 pound burger patty, you will find my lovely little plate here with a burger patty on it. And it will include the macros for how many calories, fat, and protein are in a cooked burger patty without the fat poured over. Now, sometimes I do want to add the liquid fat back, or I want to add bacon grease or some form of fat. So in which case, I track the fat separately. Beef tallow is just beef fat. You can also find lard or bacon grease in Carb Manager. So you can just measure how much fat did I add back to it and track that separately. If you're eating 1/3 pound patties, you can search for Kelly Hogan 1/3 and find the macros for a 1/3 pound patty. All right, my second food is steak. I eat a lot of New York strips. This is pretty typical of what a New York strip looks like that I buy. Occasionally, I'll find some that are a little fattier than that, but that is a pretty standard looking New York strip. And I eat New York strip steaks, many times per week. I do look to find them on sale. They are not the cheapest steak. Ribeye and New York strip is a little more pricey. Chuck eye steak is harder to find but cheaper, and I love them. And I cook all of those steaks the same way. I do pat them dry. I do season them, often with that same seasoning from before. My air fryer is a Tastee Airfryer, so it goes up to 450 degrees, and you do not even have to preheat it, but I usually run it just while I'm seasoning the steak and patting them dry. I do weigh them while they are raw. If I'm going to track any of these 3 steaks, I weigh them before I put them in the air fryer. Okay, I told you that I weigh it raw. If you go to Carb Manager, and again, you search for Kelly Hogan New York strip, that is my steak. And when you click on the entry on Carb Manager, it will actually include the directions of how to weigh it. I weigh it raw with the fat then eaten, and it would go on to say by Kelly Hogan, and it'll tell you how much fat, calories, protein, whatever you want to know. Again, if carnivore without tracking is working for you, then don't track. It's fine. It's fine. I do sometimes eat my New York strips with some Tabasco sauce. They have a beautiful fat to protein ratio. I like to keep the fat between 60 and 80%. So we're there, baby. I follow the exact same recipe when I'm cooking ribeye, but you're going to want to find the entry for Kelly Hogan ribeye with the fat eaten, cooked to a medium rare. I weigh it raw. And you can find the same thing for a chuck eye steak. Again, this is in Carb Manager. I do not pay 1 penny for Carb Manager, and you don't have to either. They have a premium that you can pay for, but mine is the free version. Okay, let's talk about chuck roast in the crock pot. This could not be any easier. You could make it more complicated. I know some people like to sear the outside to hold in the juices and give it a little crust. It's delightful. But even if you skip that step, and the only thing you do is literally buy something that looks like this, a chuck pot roast, chuck roast, it's going to look like that. I like to buy the ones with a good amount of fat on them. You could season it. I usually just use salt and pepper on these, but whatever seasonings work for you, they're good with some garlic as well if you tolerate it. I just put it in a crock pot. I don't add anything to it. You could add some water, you could add some broth, you could throw in a stick of butter, but I add nothing. And I just put it on medium heat for 8 hours. So if you do that in the morning, by dinner time, you have fragrant, soft, comforting, warm crock pot full of fatty meat. It does not get easier. You could also do this in an Instapot. The only difference is it is going to take you more like 20 to 30 minutes instead of 8 hours. But if I'm going to put it in the morning, I don't care that it's going to take 8 hours, especially if I'm going to be gone or at work all day. If you are going to track this, you could just search Carb Manager for Kelly Hogan Chuck Roast. And if you click it, it would explain that you weigh the meat cooked without the liquid. And then if you want to pour some of the liquid back over it, you certainly can, but I just weigh the meat. And that has been working really well for me. If you have other ways to track yours and it's working really well for you, keep tracking it your way. This is my way. All right, food number 4 is eggs. Easiest thing to track ever. You don't even need to search Kelly Hogan eggs. Literally, just go to Carb Manager and type in eggs. It'll ask, are your eggs small, medium, or large? I always buy large eggs. I like to eat fried eggs. I like to eat scrambled eggs, hard-boiled eggs, soft-boiled eggs, eggs in a house, eggs with a mouse, eggs with a fox, eggs in a box. Okay, eggs. They're great. I'll sometimes even make deviled eggs and use a little Primal Kitchen avocado oil mayonnaise. I don't do it often, but it's great for parties. Favorite way to eat eggs is the way my grandma taught them. Very creamy. This works better if you put several eggs into a skillet. It's not going to get the same creamy texture I found if you use a big skillet with only 1 or 2 eggs. If you use a very tiny skillet, you might get away with just 2 or 3 eggs, but I use a skillet and put several eggs in it. I first melt a tablespoon of butter. I do track the butter. Then I preheat the skillet with only the butter in it to medium. That's about a 4 on my stove top. And the idea is you cook them very slowly. So I stand next to it with a rubber spatula and I stir pretty nonstop. Stir slowly. You don't have to like stand and whisk them. Just slow. Just don't let them stick. And you're stirring and you think this isn't doing anything. Keep stirring. Do not leave them. If you leave, you could leave for like 30 seconds. Come back and keep stirring. When the eggs are creamy, this is how I like mine. Creamy. Then I pull them off and put them in the bowl. They'll still cook just a little bit more even in the bowl because it's so hot. So right before they're to the texture that looks sort of like this, pull them out, put them in the bowl. The key is do not overcook these eggs. I hate overcooked scrambled eggs. Okay, you can add some butter. If I do add butter like this afterwards, it is delightful and I track it. Number 5 is bacon. I do not eat a lot of bacon at this point. I don't know why. I just haven't been desiring bacon in the last few years, honestly. If it's cooked and available, I might have a slice or two, but it's not a big portion of what I eat. So also very easy to track bacon. If you go into Carb Manager, you're just going to search bacon and you'll find listings for either thick bacon or 6-inch long bacon or pre-cooked bacon, which is very thin. Whatever bacon you are holding in your hand, just find an entry that matches. I find that is really easy. I didn't do a Kelly Hogan bacon because I don't know what your bacon looks like. I know what my bacon looks like. Okay. I like to do my bacon in the oven on a cooking sheet with parchment paper or aluminum foil. You could air fry it. You can do it in the skillet. So many great ways. You can even microwave bacon and it will work just fine if you put it on paper towels. It'll work. But I like to preheat my oven to 400 degrees just for standard slices of bacon. If you're doing bacon ends or chunks of thick cut bacon, you might need to use a lower temp, but 400 degrees works great. After about 10 to 15 minutes, just start peeking into the oven. Some people like they're super crispy, so it's going to go more like 20 to 25 minutes. But I like to start peeking in there at about 15 minutes. I pull mine out at about 17 minutes. But, you know, it can go from perfect to overcooked pretty quickly, so keep an eye on it. Number 6, salmon. I just go to Walmart and buy great value, wild-caught, frozen salmon. I'm sure some of you will let me know in the comments that there are better options out there. That's fine. You do your salmon, I'll do mine. My whole family loves salmon. So I just thaw out as many as I want. They come individually packaged in this bag. And I pull out as many as we're going to eat. And I just put them in a bowl under running water and just let them thaw. It doesn't take long at all. You can let them thaw overnight in the fridge if you want. But once they're thawed, I open up the package, pat them dry. I season them. I like to use some Old Bay seasoning or smoked paprika. I weigh them once they are just dried and patted. Then I weigh it. Then I place them onto a cooking sheet. Again, I use parchment paper or aluminum foil. I'm a parchment paper girl. I either put them in my big oven. Well, I could put them in the big oven. I prefer to use my little toaster oven. It's just my favorite. But I pull out the little grate and put the grate pretty close under that top broiler. So you want to make sure that you've got the broil feature on your toaster oven or your oven. And I put it at the closest grate under the broil feature. I put mine on broil, which is 500 degrees, and it only takes 7 to 8 minutes. Done. If you use broil, you do not even have to preheat that oven. I know some of you know all this, but I'm just telling you. So easy. Afterwards, I like to put a tablespoon of butter on mine, and I do track it. When I do track salmon, I type in Kelly Hogan salmon plank, and it tells you here, weigh it raw. I even put the directions. Cook mine closely under the broiler for 7 minutes. I'm trying to be really helpful here, people. Okay, number 7, chicken wings. I buy the thawed chicken wings from the store that look something like this. I buy different ones as long as it's just chicken. I know that some places sell them where the little drumettes and the little wings are attached and you can just cut those apart. I am kind of lazy and I tend to just buy the ones that are already separated. I pat them dry. I season them again. McCormick smoked paprika is just my favorite. If you're using an oven, preheat it to 400 degrees, pat them dry, season them, put them on a sheet with some foil or parchment paper. 400 degrees for 50 minutes. That is longer than I like to spend on anything. So it's quicker in an air fryer. I put mine on 400 degrees, pat them, season them, lay them in a single layer on the bottom of the basket. You cannot just pile them all up if you want crispy wings. And then I air fry them for 25 minutes. Every once in a while, just give your little basket a shake. 25 minutes. And then I use this entry. Type in Carb Manager, Kelly Hogan, cooked, non-breaded chicken wings. This is both drumettes and flats. You do not even need to weigh them. You just tell them how many pieces did you eat. A drumette and a flat, they tend to look very similar no matter where you buy your chicken wings. Okay, food number 8 is carnivore ice cream. Now, I do not combine carnivore ice cream, which is lots and lots of dairy, with meat. I personally do this if I'm doing a fat fast day, and fat fasting is when you only eat fat for about 24 hours. I do that occasionally because I can eat huge amounts of calories, like at least 3,000 calories. I have eaten over 4,000 calories of pure fat in a day, and I feel so happy and satisfied. I love a fat fast. And I also tend to even drop weight when I do that. But if I were to eat burger patties, steak, and chicken wings and then have dairy, that's when I actually can get some skin breakouts and I get a little bit of a stuffy nose and gain a little weight. So for me, I keep the dairy separate. I always keep dairy separate and save that for a fat fast. If you can combine cheese and meat and dairy all on the same day and have none of the stuffy, bumpy, or fluffy issues, fabulous. Keep doing that. So for me, the way I make my ice cream is I pour 9 ounces of heavy cream into the measuring cup. It's easy for me to put my measuring cup on the scale, zero it out, so it's back to 0 with an empty measuring cup, and then I pour in 9 ounces of cream. At that point, I put a pinch of salt. I like to put about a tablespoon of cinnamon. I can tolerate cinnamon. I don't know if you can tolerate cinnamon, but I can. And I add a little bit of pure vanilla extract, or I don't. It's good either way. And I typically add 1 egg yolk. At that point, mix it. You can either use a fork, you can use one of those little hand milk frothers, like you would use to whip heavy cream for your coffee, but it's not going to whip exactly. You're just trying to mix everything up. Your salt, your vanilla extract, your egg yolk, your heavy cream. Mix it up, cover it, and stick it in your freezer. In only a couple of hours, it will be frozen. Some people say that they get a better texture if they go in and sort of stir it once an hour until it's frozen, or every 30 minutes till it's frozen. I don't even do that. I just put it in the freezer, and then you can leave it overnight. You can leave it a few hours, but in a couple of hours, it will start to turn into ice cream. To track it, I just enter how much heavy cream, how many egg yolks. That's it. And again, if I'm doing a fat fast, I'll usually eat 3 bowls of this exact recipe, which is over 900 calories. And I'll do that 3, sometimes 4 times per day. And that is working for me. Okay, food number 9, sardines. I know not everyone likes sardines. I did not used to like sardines. The first time I tried them, I was like, oh my gosh, I looked at it as a challenge. Oh, can I do it? Now, the first time, I'm pretty sure it had like the little heads and fins and tails and scales and bones, and I got them down. I can do it, but I much prefer these. King Oscar in the box. They have them with a little bag over them too. I don't like those. I do not. But I am not you. You might love them. In the comments, if you want to comment and tell me your favorite sardines or how much you hate sardines, feel free. Post it in the comments. But I like these. I have no issues when I eat them. Feel really good. I do not always do them as like a fast, like I'm going to eat nothing but sardines. No, I just incorporate them as a lunch. I typically eat 2 cans at a time. They are quite high in fat. I eat the ones that are in olive oil. I like to just dump them in a bowl. They're already cooked. You don't have to worry like you're eating raw fish. You're not. They're cooked already in the can. I add some mustard or Tabasco. And when I track them, I type in Kelly Hogan sardines, because a lot of the intros in Carb Manager for sardines are for drained sardines. If you're eating them drained, that's perfect, but I actually eat all of the fat. And for people who do drain them, perfect, but I would encourage you to add 2 tablespoons of fat per can if you're not going to eat the olive oil. That'll give you what Dr. Boz says is just a perfect macro ratio. So you could add beef tallow, bacon grease, butter, ghee, whatever fat you want to add. But these already have the 2 tablespoons of fat included. So that's the entry that I use to track them. This is not a low calorie food. 1 can is 360, and I typically eat 2 cans per meal. And I have learned to love them. I don't just tolerate them. I actually really enjoy them. They're very satisfying. It's a great judge of hunger too. So if you go, I don't know, am I truly hungry? Because you tend to, maybe you're a volume eater. You tend to eat way more because you have no leptin sensitivity. So you have no shut-off cue. I know that's not most women carnivores. Most women carnivores, I'm trying to get them to eat more. But occasionally, I meet someone like myself who could just eat and eat and eat and eat. And so if that's you, then you might ask yourself in the evenings, if you're feeling kind of snacky and cravey, just ask, am I sardine hungry? If you are sardine hungry and a can of sardines sounds pretty good, you're hungry. You're hungry. Mark my words, you're hungry. Go eat the sardines. It's good. Now, if on the other hand, you think to yourself, oh, I'm standing in front of the fridge. What do I want? I don't want the burger patties. I don't want hard-boiled eggs. I don't want sardines. I don't want... You're not hungry. You're not hungry. Really hungry people are not picky. If you went to, say, a country where they have very little food, and you were to ask, would you pick one of these 5 foods? Hard-boiled eggs, burger patties, sardines. They're going to start eating before you finish the list. They're not going to be like, num num. Nope, they're going to just eat it. That's what they're going to do. They're going to eat it because they're truly hungry. Okay, and food number 10 is pork belly. If I go to Publix, I can find pork belly cut into thick strips. If I find it at Walmart, it's in... Look, these look similar. However, this is thick. Like, it's a long strip that is thick. And then sometimes, yeah, more like that. Right. Sometimes you'll find just a big sheet of it and you have to actually cut it into strips. So all of these work beautifully. I do not buy the ones that have the skin on. If you do, I've been told that you need to kind of score it and pat it dry and let it sit in your fridge for a while. It just sounded like a little too much work for me. You can tell I'm not really into cooking, but If all you can find is the kind with the skin on, it can absolutely work. But I can only find the kind without the skin. So I like to cut mine into bite-sized hunks like this. And then I put it in my air fryer. I preheat my air fryer to 400 degrees. If you have a Tastee air fryer, you can preheat it to 450 degrees if you want it extra crispy. You can season it. Yeah, I know. Here it is again. My favorite McCormick seasoning and smoked paprika. It's so good on everything. Chicken, fish, beef, and yes, pork. So depending on how thick your pork belly is, you'll probably need to cook it anywhere from 7 to 12 minutes. The main thing is just occasionally open the drawer and peek at it. This is 2 different batches of mine. This is the thinner kind. This is the thicker kind. However you cook it is fine. Because so much fat cooks off of pork belly, I track my pork belly with this entry. If you type in Kelly Hogan pork belly into Carb Manager, you will find this entry for cooked pork belly. And to use this entry, you would weigh it after it has been cooked. Because unless you are drinking the ladlefuls of fat that cooks off of it, you didn't eat that. It stayed in your air fryer. Some meats make more sense to weigh it raw and others to weigh it cooked. This is probably the biggest tracking question that I get asked on repeat. And I've said it before, but it's worth saying again. When people ask, do I weigh my meat cooked or raw? The answer is either one is great. Either one will work perfectly well. As long as what you are weighing, let's say raw meat, matches the entry that you are using in Carb Manager, which must also be raw meat. If you are weighing your meat cooked, you need an entry for cooked. The problem is, here's the problem. If you're weighing your meat cooked and entering a raw entry, it's not the same, or vice versa. So whatever you're weighing, enter it that way. Now, the reason so many people weigh their meat raw is because most entries in Carb Manager are for raw meat. So it makes sense. But I have added some entries for also cooked meat, which I think is most important when it comes to things like pork belly. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. First of all, there's some of you that are probably ticked off that I am combining carnivore with the idea of weighing anything. Lions in the wild are not weighing their food. They do not weigh their antelope. They don't think about how much to eat. They just go out and eat it. And this is true. Lions in the wild are also not staying cooped up, sedentary most of the time, under high amounts of stress. They have not done yo-yo dieting and calorie restriction for decades. Most lions were not part of Weight Watchers at any point. Most of them have not crashed their leptin and ghrelin. They literally know when they're hungry, they eat, and they stop when they're full. And there are some people who are just like that too. And they tend to be people who have not done lots of dieting through the years. The idea of binging and purging and restricting calories and counting points and going hungry, all of that is absolute garbage when it comes to our leptin and our ghrelin. And so many women, after decades of those behaviors, stop having a clue if they are hungry or satisfied. And if that's you, and you find that you're either way under eating and getting terrible results with carnivore, or you're way overeating and you're getting terrible results with carnivore, because yes, that is also possible, then I would encourage you, just find out what you're doing. What are you doing right now? Now, in my groups, I do have something called a TDEE, a Total Daily Energy Expenditure Calculator, that will calculate or estimate based on your age, gender, size, and activity level how much meat you likely need in a day. And then it will also recommend, based on your weight and height, if you need to be gaining weight or losing weight, how much you should eat in order to just maintain your weight, and if you need to do a cut once you've been at maintenance for a while, if you need to do a cut, or if you need to increase and simply add muscle. It's a great tool, but it's going to be really hard to use if you haven't ever sat down and figured out, well, what am I doing right now? I can't tell you if you need to increase or decrease if you have never done something called baselining. And baselining is just finding out, Just tracking your food for a while to find out what am I doing right now and what results am I getting. If your results are already great, I'm feeling good, I'm getting to the weight I want to be, whether that's gaining or losing, you're losing body fat and gaining muscle, you're sleeping and feeling great, please, you truly do not need to track anything. You do not need a food scale. You do not need a carb manager or a TDEE because you are getting positive results. You are like a lion. Live your happy little lion life and eat meat when you're hungry and stop when you're full because it's working. But if you are struggling and you don't know if you're under eating, overeating, you don't know, then I would suggest maybe stick to foods that are very easy to track for a while, like these 10. Stick to foods that are maybe very easy to cook for a while. Great. Stick to foods that taste good and make you feel amazing. For me, it is these 10. And if your list looks very different than that, please tell me below in the comments which ones you think should have been included. I've already thought of a few that I think, oh, flank and ribs should have been on there. I love flank and ribs. But I could have made a much longer list. I decided for today to stick with these 10. I hope something here today helps. If it wasn't the recipe, maybe it'll be the tracking or just the idea that if what you're doing on carnivore, the simplest version is working, then I release you from needing to track. And you can eat all of the animal products that work for you and your body. If you need more help or support, accountability, if you want the entire handbook and not just this quick explanation or the TDEE, I would love to work with you. I have groups that meet live on Zoom where we can talk to each other in real time, face to face. They meet 1 hour per week. And then I do daily interactions on Facebook where members can ask questions all day long. I have 4 assistant coaches, but I do all of the teaching myself. We occasionally do some small breakout rooms where I'll lead a session and the assistant coaches will lead their own small group sessions. So the groups are big, but we break up into small parts. And you can always ask me things in the chat box on Zoom or in the Facebook pages. And I would love to see you there. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.